So we'll
Is
see.
it the first time using them?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we're live here. We'll see. I'm not sure. I was expecting like a countdown or something. I didn't see a countdown, but all right, everybody, welcome to Hot Off the Press. Randy Rohde. I'm already kind of joined in. I got Paul in here. Paul Andre de Vera. We'll call him Dre because he's the man. Welcome to the show, brother. Glad to have you on.
Hey, Randy, my man. How's it going? Good morning from Oakland, California.
There we go. Oakland. Yeah, I just read a story in Oakland that you guys are losing your In-N-Out in Oakland.
Oh, yeah, I just saw that too. It's right by the airport. I mean, crime out here is just horrible. I don't even drive my car around into downtown Oakland or San Francisco. Like, I would have to like, Uber or take my bucket.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, well, I'm sorry that you're losing the In-N-Out over there because I love In-N-Out. Anytime I get out west, I'm like, oh, I got to hit an In-N-Out. So I am all over that. And then the other, I also enjoy good coffee out west.
Yeah.
You guys got some really nice coffee. And the first time we had gone out to San Francisco, hey folks, I'm glad for joining us, and now you'll hear about Randy's travel log. We were out in San Francisco right before the pandemic, and we were staying somewhere, but I wanted to seek out. I had not seen one of the Starbucks Reserve cafes or coffee bars. And like, oh, I got to go see this thing. This is because I love coffee. And yeah, that was a great experience. So anyway, you got some fun stuff over
I mean, In-N-Out is like every other city anyway. So like no one in Oakland is like, that's just not. Yeah.
Well, it's not. I mean, I don't know the farthest east In-N-Out. I'm not even sure where it is. I know, like I was just in Vegas a couple of weeks ago for the Traffic and Conversions Conference, and so I know anytime I go to Vegas, I always go to In-N-Out, but I don't know how far east they come because they really have some stringence that they're not going to go any further than away from their facilities where they can deliver the fresh bread and meat and all of that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I love
it's like a family-owned business, right? So I mean, keeping it close, keeping it tight.
I love In-N-Out. Love In-N-Out. All right. So folks, go ahead, like, follow, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. You can chat, drop your chat, your questions, any of that fun stuff into the chat. Hey, my man, I'm going to see if I can show this. There's Joe. The bricks are back. Yes. So Joe, I had Joe Marichik. Do you know Joe? Are you familiar with Joe Dre?
No, I haven't met Joe.
Oh my gosh, you got to reach out to Joe. Grab him on your show. He's fabulous. He was on my show last week. This guy knows more than Wikipedia on SEO tools. This guy is phenomenal. So Joe, I want you to know, based off of our conversation last week on the show, I changed from Be Live to Wave. This is my first shot at using wave.video. So I'm, we'll see how this goes. I'm a little, I'm still kind of feeling it out. So hopefully it will go into, I'm going to even put it in there. So if anybody wants to check it out on their own, wave.video, we'll see if it goes up. I don't know.
Have you been testing other platforms? Like, have you been using like maybe StreamYard or like, whether Restream or these other ones?
Well, I'm familiar with StreamYard. I have not used it. I know a lot of people. I've used it when other people, and I've been guests on other shows and stuff, and they use it. I looked at it. I'm like, I'm not sure if I needed all of that. Years ago, and as Joe would say, I'm a big tool AppSumo geek kind of thing. I love tools. And like probably 2 or 3 years ago, Be Live had a lifetime AppSumo deal. And I bought into that. I bought it. I never used it until I decided to start using the stream. And so we went, I went with that, but I always had a bunch of issues with it. And then Joe was on last week and said, take a look at this wave. He thought it was great. So anyway, so I'm good. I'm glad the video looks good, looks better. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, folks, if you have any questions as we're rolling through this thing with Dre, I have to tell you, I'm super excited that you're on the show here, Paul, because I was very honored and fortunate. I was on your show, which is the SEO Video Show. And hopefully I'm going to see if I can show some of it on stream here. But folks, if you're not familiar with it, go check it out. It is the, I'm going to see if I can put it into, I don't know. Well, I'm going to put this video link into the chat and then they can go to your channel from there. But it is the SEO Video Show, and you do one of the best shows ever. I swear. It is awesome. The way the production, the way you roll this thing. So I'm super excited to have you on the show, and I'm going to see if I can experiment with this thing. I'm going to throw this on. Okay. Well, there that is. Now I'm going to see if I can hit play. Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear that.
You can't hear it? That's what I don't know.
I cannot.
So you didn't hear that?
No. I could see like it's a little laggy on when it's coming on, but yeah. You can't. There's no sound.
I got to figure out how they do. Well, so I was going to try to play the one of your video clips to show just the awesome. I'm going to shut that off. Then I want to edit, name, remove, share. I'm going to throw this into here then. So folks, absolutely go check them out. I'm going to throw this up there. Oh, that's that stream. Let me hide that one. Let me throw this one on. Yeah. So here's his YouTube channel with his show. It is phenomenal. And let me see. I'm going to try to share this. Boom. We'll do it that way. I'm going to add this to the stream. Here it is here, the SEO Video Show. I was on there once, which was great. Here's the thing with Paul and with what he does on his show. He does the most amazing production and process of any of these SEO shows I've ever seen. And when I was a guest, he does it with all the guests. I was like, wow, that is so awesome. And then he does this like great introductory video that he does and makes you feel like a rock star. And then he's got all kinds of fun stuff pops in and out and animations and what have you on his show. But you got to check it out. It is a great show, great guests. You've got a lot of great names on your show that, I mean, you had Stuart Vickers on there. I love Chad. I saw Chad when I was in Vegas just a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, you've got all of the great names on your show. So I do want to dig into that. Before we get into your show, I want to hear a little bit kind of your background, because I've heard some different stories and necessarily in that SEO is not really your background or your, I don't want to say your key strength, but necessarily your background anyway. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I heard that when we were in Vegas back in August, I think, last August. But I would love to hear your background and then kind of we'll move forward and talk about your show a little bit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been doing SEO for about 15 years now. So it's been something I've been doing for quite some time. But prior to that, I was actually making websites. So back in 97.
I don't know who the hell told me then that SEO is not your background. I'm like, what the? What? All right. Sorry, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I graduated in multimedia and design, which maybe probably explains kind of like, and so that's why I have this touch of being able to visual with a lot of my media. I was a photographer, and I started off as also a nightclub promoter, and all this actually tied into SEO itself. So when I was like in college, one of the things I was doing was I was taking pictures, and I was taking pictures of a bunch of models, a bunch of like people on campus, and I started putting them online, and I started getting a ton of traffic. I'm like people searching like, college girls and stuff like that, and I was like, holy crap! And then I kind of realized, a lot of people were searching these type of terms, and I was like, I saw that as an opportunity to like, okay, how can I start monetizing traffic of like people searching this type of content? And of course, I kind of got into SEO first through adult stuff. Adult was just because I was like, oh, what can I use to promote all this traffic of like college girls or like glamour models and stuff like that. So that's how I kind of really got started into SEO itself, because I was like, oh, okay, I saw it coming in, saw my analytics, and was able to find some product to promote. And I became like one of Playboy affiliates and just kind of those type of glamour. It was more glamour. It wasn't really hardcore porn, but it was like glamour.
I was like, we could really have a great conversation about that in itself. I think would be very interesting. But all right, so you're in the industry a little bit.
It's crazy. My sites, one of my sites, so I actually even ended up going niching down on that topic. So I stopped doing affiliates and I created my own site. It was called Penize.com. It's still live, but I remember. But I haven't updated it in over like maybe 20 years. I mean, I stopped updating it, but it was a membership website. I had like, it was $15 subscribe a month, and I shot a bunch of Filipino models. And what I also known was like, I was able to target like certain names. So I was searching popular, because back then there was no Instagram or any social media for some girls to get somewhat popular online. They're like, hey, like if you shoot pictures for us, if you shoot pictures for me, and then we kind of do a trade, so I don't even pay them, but I was able to get them on my site to actually charge. So it was a win-win. They got photos, they got popularity, and then I was able to do it. So if you check it out, I mean, it's pretty safe for work. I think if you guys, it's with Penize.com, Pinays.com, and Penize stands for like a Filipino woman. So that's why like it's a niche of Filipino Americans. So if you check it out, it's so old that I have Flash plugins still on there. Like I haven't even.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so it's like you can't even see it anymore, but you can see the thumbnails of all the models I shot on there if you click on the models tab. But that's actually my very first real income through like SEO. After that, while I was able to do that in college and after college, I got into the nightclub industry. The nightclub industry, like I was able to bring in a lot of these models, like and have them as go-go dancers, or like kind of just being like bottle service or anything like stuff like that. And I noticed I was actually getting traffic through ranking for stuff like San Francisco nightlife, San Francisco Get List, New Year's Eve parties and stuff like that. So that's how I was able to build my guest list through SEO on the nightclub scene. And from there, I ended up starting another clothing line. Like this is the clothing line is where I started my streetwear brand with my brother. It's called Filthy Drip. We were in over about 200 stores at most. And we had a good maybe 5-6 year run until we got, our contract got messed over over our distribution company, and big long story, but we were able.
I love the name. That was a great name, Filthy Drip. I love
Filthy Drip. You can check it out. You can see all the celebrities wearing our on Google's images. You can see some celebrities wearing our stuff, and I ranked number 1 for streetwear back then. This was back in 2006 to 2010. Ranking number 1 for streetwear really drove a lot of traffic for. The business my brother and I had. We were on the legendary Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, so we actually had a really prime location, like right in front of UC Berkeley, Cal. And we were able to get a lot of the Bay Area rappers on there. We had like a bunch of, we were right across Rasputin Records, and I was able to. They brought in a bunch of celebrities into the store as well. So that was kind of like my whole background into, an SEO. And then after that, that's when about 2011. 2008 was a hard year, right? So I kind of started like going, 2009, 2010, started looking for like something, if I can do this in corporate, so I was like, oh, I can do, there's like positions started opening up for SEO in corporate around that time. And that's when I was doing enterprise SEO since 2011. And I've, worked at companies such as SAP, Workday. I mean, just like huge B2B type of software companies. And that's where I am now.
That's a great journey. I was just trying to find, is it Filthy Dripped? Or
Dripped. DRIPPED. Yeah, Filthy Dripped.
Yeah. You should be able to just checking that out. Yeah, the streetwear.
Yeah.
I was just saying, I pulled up you had like filthy dripped face mask.
Yeah, we have a bunch of there's a bunch of things that we had going on. We tried to go online, but it was something that we didn't really, me and my brother pursue, so it's kind of still there. Maybe I'll come back to it, make an affiliate type of website for like streetwear brands because it still ranks, it has that authority in that space. I mean, we've been quoted a bunch of times in like Wikipedia, so we got some nice Wikipedia links in there, and I want to possibly bring it up again one of these days. We got some time. There's so much things going on, right?
I love it. I love it. So move, forward, and you've got this lovely, which is and again, folks, I'm just really gonna hype this because this is such a great show. So tell us about the SEO Video Show. I'm like, how did you kind of come up with the idea? What were the origins? And I mean, you've got almost 600 videos on here, so it's not like you've been just started this last year even. I mean, you're cranking this stuff out. I know you do your show for me it's Fridays at noon, which is like 9 a.m. I think West Coast time. And so, I mean, you've been at it. So I don't know, give us a lowdown. When did you start? What kind of prompted you? And
Oh yeah, of course. So once I was, into the whole B2B enterprise SEO, we got stuck at home, work from home during the pandemic. So this show, this channel, if you take a look at it, it started back in 2000 or 2020. So I'm only about 3.5 years old now. It's going to be 4 years in July. So this is something that I've just been doing for the past 4 years. And it started from being stuck at home, being able to still connect with the world out there, being able to and network with other people, like other SEOs like yourself, and still connect with an audience. Because I mean, I love going to conferences. At the time of going to conferences, meeting everyone, listening to speakers, and learning from them. Networking was a great way, and I found that this was a gateway to doing that without having to attend a conference, because I can invite the speakers I wanted to listen to and just pick their brains and get that conversation going. And I meet a ton of people in the audience, right? People like writing in the chats or in the comments and engaging with the show itself. So this is something I was able to start, and with my background in multimedia and graphic design, I was able to learn it really quickly. I mean, I really had the cameras and the lighting, so that was something that I really already had because I was into photography. But one thing I didn't know how to do was live streaming, just like yourself, like you're trying to figure out which software to use. And I was talking to you earlier about it, and I was like, I was testing a bunch of different streaming softwares as well. And so I was like, all right, I can go this route, or you know what, I want to go hard on this and really learn the industry standard. So I ended up using software called vMix. It's vmix.com.
vMix.
It's very, very crazy looking. It's what people use for in live productions, like in actual broadcasting live productions. I mean, this is kind of if you take a look at it here, you can see this is my the screen, my production screen of the different scenes. If you can show me.
Let me pull this off. Here you go.
So you can see this is the kind of the production I'm using now. And it's a really, really has I put my scenes in here. You can see my countdowns when I have my shows. I have the overlays. I have the different clips I put in. So it's really paced out for every show. I have to build this out for every show, and it takes me a good So right when I first started doing this, it was one of the things where I've actually took me quite some time. I was spending maybe 15 hours. 16 hours a week just trying to put in the shows. I'd say the first few shows. And then after the first year, I cut it down to maybe 6 hours. And then after maybe the third year, it takes me 3-4 hours now just to do, because you start creating processes and you learn from some of these mistakes. One of the things I've also learned from just doing this is what do you do when someone's internet connection go down? I guess connection goes down. It's I panicked one time. I was I didn't know what to do. I just shut the live down. I was oh no, that was a short live. so you kind of think about it and think about, okay, next time they come down, I'll just pan back to me and maybe play some music and start talking. And so now that I have a panic button, okay, something goes wrong, press this button.
Yeah. So you do all of this stuff You do a bunch of pre-work before, so, like, I'm lazy, right? I used to do a great well, I would say it was a great podcast. We did a podcast for, like, 3 years called Running the Bases, with small businesses. We did a lot more production effort with that. I had it was myself, and then I had somebody who did the pre-work on the guest, right, and put out all of the here's the interview questions you're going to do, here's the research on it to dig in, and then I had my editor of the podcast. We didn't do any video; it was only audio, and I think in all, including recording of the show, we got it down to about 7 hours per episode for a full production, right? So my team member who did the research, she spent about an hour to 2 hours a week doing it. Generally the recording was about 90 minutes, and then the remainder time our editor. And we began, kind of shrinking that down. But it takes time. It's effort. It is work.
Yeah,
right,
work
to get this rolling.
Yeah, the research and everything. Like you mentioned the guest, and then I also share clips of videos that were released from the past week, and kind of do research on that to share those out. I mean, it's gotten a lot better now because before then there was no timestamps, and so now a lot of creators are using timestamps, so I can see what they're talking about and see what I want to share. So it cuts down time, because before I would watch the whole video before I find that key nugget to share out on my show. So that's one of the things that I'm about.
Well, and the amazing thing is that you get all of this great. I mean, you'll. Can you hear this music?
I can hear music. Yeah.
Okay, so like you got like the stuff going on. Oh, yeah, I got Paul in the house. Yes, there he goes. He's hitting you. You're hitting all of the fun stuff, right? You're like, God, who is this guy? And I just think it's hilarious.
You have a soundboard now, or have you been?
Well, actually, this is the kind of the fun thing with Wave. It actually has some stuff already built into it, which is kind of fun, right? So
there you go.
There you go.
You'll get addicted playing with the sound buttons, but the creepy thing is like when you one of the parts of my production where I feel like when I use the sound effects is at the right moments. There's some times where the best effect would happen when you know when to press a certain button. It's like, like when someone does something says something like all sad and you just go wah 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 wah. It just makes the whole engaging experience like just 100x.
But then you do all of stuff that's like cool visual animation that you throw into it as well. And I wish, I don't know, I would play the video of the introduction of me that you did of me on your show, but I think it's only gonna. I have not figured out Wave enough where I could show the video on my screen. Like I can share the screen, but evidently the sound doesn't come through. But I mean, that in itself must take an hour to like create even that little video, because you're pulling stuff from all different kinds of sources to kind of create these video clips to make it like, boom, here's Randy, here's Stewart, here's Terry Samuels, here's blah, blah, blah. It's so impressive. I see you're on a mission. You're like, I'm gonna find that.
I'm gonna play your intro that you're talking about. I found it here. So let me see. I have it here. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it for people out here so they can check it out. All right.
I'm gonna shrink down, and I'll shrink this up so you've got the full.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Now I'm doing this.
There we go.
That is like so amazing. So how long does that take you to do that? Seriously.
Yeah. So I mean, of course, in the very beginning, it took a while, but I got it like a templatized now, and all I have to do is make sure I find enough content so I kind of fill in the spaces, right? So this is something I do for like my guests. One thing to like really really make the show feel really really connected with the guests is like really really like show them up, right, and do as much as I can for them. How I do an introduction for you, how I'll put in as much work as I can to make sure you are the star of the show. And so I feel like that really kind of brings out a lot of engaging content and a lot of knowledge bombs. Like when you get excited, some of the SEOs will share stuff they don't normally share because like, oh, I like this. Let me go ahead and share more of that.
Well, that's exactly how I felt. So when you had asked me to come on, I'm like, okay, great. And I hadn't really been terribly familiar with your show. I'd seen some of it, but I don't know that I'd seen anybody like with the video introduction. And so I started watching your show then before I came out and watching your videos, like, oh my gosh, this guy is like, he is the bomb, man. He absolutely goes crazy on, and I loved it. And you're absolutely right. It made me feel like, wow, this is a champ. I got to figure out if that's what I want to do on my show or not of some degree. I don't want to copy the Dre show, but man, it is a very nice piece. And I think a wonderful thing you do for your guests. So in doing your show, how do you find, and we're doing this kind of somewhat similar in that I like to have guests on and kind of talk with them and just kind of learn about them, learn about their business. I've got guys from all different kinds of, SEO backgrounds as well. And we talk some about link building or whatever. How do you find guests? Do you have some kind of a specific agenda in mind? Anything you're particularly looking for with guests?
Yeah. For real, it's for the most part, it's me wanting to learn from that particular person. I mean, that's how it's like I've general rule. And like I don't really take requests because I want to go out and find the guest I want to talk to. I mean, sometimes I'll get a request and I'm like, oh, you seem interesting, but or I wanted to get to them at one point, but for the most part, it's me trying to reach out to other people that I wanted to speak to. I know that may be selfish just because I mean, hey, I want to learn certain things that that I don't know and want to touch on it. And the way I found guests, like when I first started, right, was through my own network. It was like, and I, like an enterprise SEO, so I knew like people at like SEO companies like Brighton, Adobe, and so L'Oreal. So these were like a lot of like brand SEOs and enterprise SEOs that I was already familiar with, and that's how I was able to kind of start the network. And I felt like once I got like Bill Slawski on there, he actually came on really really early. He loved the show, and he was like my third guest, and it opened up the doors I felt to like a lot of the other speakers of like the speakers and a bunch of like the Alita Solis's, Lily Ray's, like all them to come in as well. And my own circle of SEOs were the Clint's and Kyle's and of that circle of like SEO rock stars or people that's the speakers at SEO Spring Training, and IMG. So these were kind of like the circles I was in. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'll start bringing them in, and I started mixing the two SEOs together.
Right.
Something that a lot like no SEO show does, because someone tells me, hey, you bring all the SEOs from like different backgrounds, different circles, and you don't see that in other podcasts or shows.
I think it's a good mix. So, do you hit them up with? Well, if I recall, actually, you have a very good kind of a funnel. You do all of the great stuff that I don't do. So, I mean, you are a pro at this now. But if I recall, though, you sent me like, hey, here's, do you have some questions? Do you have a little more of a bio on you? I mean, you were out kind of looking for information, for my feedback as well, which is great because I don't think you and I don't think we actually really knew each other prior to. And so when you have people like, I don't know them, so you got to go find some info on them. But so I'm guessing, because when I had when we were running our podcast, I similarly kind of had a funnel. Once a guest scheduled the recording, then it initiated a funnel of information that kind of a questionnaire that we would ask, very similar from that standpoint. I just haven't done it for this thing, but and I'm imagining that's what you have right now, right? It's a funnel, it's a process, right?
Not necessarily. It's more of like I first off reach out, just hey, just what's up. I'd love to feature you on the podcast or stuff like that. But I do have an agenda. You're talking about the agenda I have. I have a totally scripted agenda for each show, right? So it's like boom, 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 and I also send like a questions on topic. And just to get the conversation going. So, and most, for the most part, I may touch upon the questions, but it's just to guide the conversation, especially like, when it comes to live streaming. No sound or dead space is kind of like awkward. So you want to keep the conversation going. Yeah. And so I'm ready to have a question ready to go if that happens, or if someone gets stuck on a certain question. Yeah. But I love the thing about live streaming too, because if I have no question available, I can let's go check the audience and ask the audience and see if they have anything out there. And so it's like a lot of ways to like really engage like every part of the live stream within the show.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Speaking of which, I will engage the audience. So if you have any questions for Dre, throw them up into the chat. How about, in this kind of age of so much content and people creating content, if there are people, because actually I've talked with a couple of my friends in the SEO world that are thinking about kind of starting a live stream show and that. What kind of advice would you give them in kind of from soup to nuts, right? On whether it's the streaming, the software, the preparation, any of that, production through everything, I guess, even, and I'm curious around even how you build the brand, because you've built a very nice brand, a very nice following. And reputation. So, I think that's all part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So love to hear your, like, hey, if you're going to start, this is what you should focus on.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna start now, it's all about the microphone, right? I mean, I think you have to have the quality sound. I mean, you got like one of the sexiest voice here on the CEOs, and it's one, and that being able to have the right microphone, project that sound, because I mean, when it comes to shows, if you're doing a podcast, you may not have the video portion, but when you shoot a video, you can. You can still listen to it, and that's what the most important thing. And then of course getting some type of lighting, just looking good on camera. If you have a background, you can do a green screen like if you're doing, or if you just clean it up. Pay attention to like your background, so it's like you're playing that quality. So you have the professionalism, especially when you're interviewing your guest. And then, of course, one of the things that you've kind of mentioned too is kind of the pre-show. You can do the funnel of having them answer questions, but I go further than that, like where I'll do the research even on the person, and that's why I was able to create that bio or that introduction, right? So that's one of the things I do. But having it scripted out and having different portions of the show, like if you notice in the very beginning, I have the countdown, and I do kind of like little contests there or stuff like that. There's a purpose, and then the purpose of the countdown is to allow people to come in, trickle in for the actual launch time. In the very beginning, I have another segment of where I do the video clips. So you want to create like your show, and then of course then the guest, and then we could go through the guest. You want to like kind of have some kind of flow of the show. Think of any talk show host, like any talk show, like Tonight Show. I actually got inspiration from Talk Soup. I don't know if you're Generation X like me.
Oh yeah.
There's like this. It was cheesy. It was cheesy, corny, but I was able to bring entertainment into it. And that's why you have this whole like 90s type vibe on my things, because I was more of like inspired by that show Talk Soup. And what he did was he would show in videos like in the very beginning. So that's kind of got the idea, showing videos. And then one thing that he was doing before is like he would do skits. I was like, maybe one of these days I'll start doing skits in between my interviews. So but that's going an extra mile there. But when you do your show or your podcast, make sure it's structured. Just have it structured and have your questions ready, because the best thing about having a structured podcast or show is the repurposing. This is after you're done recording, right? Like you notice, like you saw 600 videos. I didn't interview 600 people. I interviewed about close to almost coming to 200. But it's 600 videos because I was able to extract the knowledge bombs. I was able to extract the question I always ask in the very beginning is, how do you get ranked on page 1 of Google in 1 minute? That's always the short, like, a vertical short. And then at the very end, I go, how do you give advice to someone that wants to get into SEO industry? And so I always make that a video. So you guaranteed you'll have, 3 videos from each one. and then maybe I'll pull out a snippet on another video. And so that's kind of like one of the content repurposing part of the show.
That's funny you say that, because I was on your channel. I'm like, hey, I wanted to go and see if I could queue up the that intro video you did for me. And then I'm like, well, I just went on your channel and searched for my name. And then there was like, oh, I didn't even know that he put this one out there. That was good. The how to be an SEO professional or something like that. So the repurposing content is pretty well, I'll say I think it's pretty magical, right? Because you've got this video content, you can do all different kinds of incredible things that you can do with it. Make the shorts, slice it up, do a lot of different shorts. I mean, we've just started. I have to tell you, just in talking with you and as you've rolled through there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am so lazy and so. I do. I'm just thinking about when you're saying like do segments or sections of the show. I'm like, yes, of course. That's why it's so entertaining. I kind of did that with our podcast. I had a thing in there that we called the seventh inning stretch. So it's kind of like,
that's nice.
Because it was around running the bases, right? It was kind of this baseball theme thing. And so we did this kind of, and it was, the seventh inning stretch was like I kind of threw out a baseball question, kind of a trivia question to our guests that was based kind of whatever their particular niche was. So on our podcast, we had people from all different businesses. Wasn't just SEO. They could have had a dry cleaning business. It could be a burger shop that they had. It could be anything. And so we were like, hey, my research would go find a question that'd be kind of relative to, that we could ask him. And it was kind of fun, but it was to your point of breaking the show up, creating kind of fun, entertaining segments that were always good. I did something very similar to you at the end. The last question I always asked was, you're a great professional. If somebody was just starting out in your business and in business, what advice would you give them? And then generally they would give me like 2 or 3 bullet points that then we would use, right? We would extract from and use those as, content to use for snippets and or to help to tease out the show. So I don't know why I'm not doing any of that for this particular production.
I mean, even with the show, once you have the show, you should start promoting it, right? I mean, one of the ways I promote the show is also like after every show, I extract 3 takeaways and I film a video. So, once your lighting's up already, you kind of like set everything and everything's fresh. I find the 3 takeaways. I took notes down, and I'll do a video that I recap on Monday, and I use that to publish on Monday to promote the next show. So it's kind of like this daisy chain. Like, okay, last week we learned these 3 things, and then join me this week for this guest. So it's like there's a commercial I've put out every Monday. Kind of linking the 2 shows from last week to this week.
I think that's a great segment. And you do something as well that I think is really clever, actually, is that you'll do a countdown. So you'll go live and you'll do a countdown, but you kind of do stuff underneath the countdown clock. Like you'll talk or you'll get things lined up, or you'll like talk about SEO news or something. I mean, you'll like throw content out, which is kind of underneath the countdown clock. And I'm like,
that's one of the that's actually, that segment is there on purpose, right? It's one of the things. It is there on purpose. It is there to kind of really engage with the audience, say hi to everyone. That's why I do those little air horns, like, "Hey, welcome, Randy," and then everyone, let everyone welcome everyone in. I'll do the shouts out for any of the partners I have, or the sponsors and partners I have, which brings to your point to like building a brand. The show turned into a brand in its own, into an actual asset. Again, I started this just for a hobby, and I think the second year I was sponsored by Ahrefs for the whole year, and then third year I got some other sponsors, but I was able to build this brand around it by being consistent and being able to always, like, you always see me wearing this, right? The branding is everywhere. Like you'll see my logo everywhere I go. Even like you saw me in Las Vegas, I was wearing a shirt.
You were wearing the shirt. Yeah, exactly.
So branding's big, and one of the things, even though I have a small, relatively small channel, right? It's like I think what's not even 7,000 subscribers yet. I get a few hundred views here, but these are targeted views. These are really, really hyper targeted. If you look, kind of correlate the people who are subscribed to my LinkedIn SEO Video Show page, you can see the different companies who are watching the show, and they're, these companies are paying top dollars. So it's like these people have money. And what I offer to like people who sponsor the show is I'll offer a retargeting campaign for the commercial I create for them. So it's one of the things where they get benefit of, like, anyone that watches my videos will get get their commercial I created for them retarget to all my visitors for as long as they sponsor the show. And so that's one of the things, being able to have that brand work. If you notice too, in the very beginning, I had some really crazy looking haircut. Like I had this really pompadour top. That was done on purpose. If I show you pictures of my nightclub days, I had 2 mohawks. Like I had 2 mohawks going up. And you should see my passport. It was like people were like, "What the hell? Did you just take a razor and just go down your middle of your head?" Think of like Legion of Doom or Road Warriors from the WWF and WWE. I was Hawk. I was definitely Hawk. And it was one of those things where I had 2 by Hawk, kind of piercings on the face. So everything I do, like even on I'll go as far as branding myself as an image. So like I did have a crazy haircut, which people always mention and talked about in the very beginning, and then so I slowly kind of transitioned to a little comb over now.
I don't even know what that is that you got sitting up there, but clearly it's a lot better than what I'm sporting. Yeah.
Again, branding. Even with thumbnails, I try to, if I refresh one, I'll refresh all of them. I kind of be consistent, so it's like everything can see. That's pretty much like just being consistent on your branding and like different using the photos. I mean, take pictures of yourself in your gear, or like I have a ton of photos I upload to like everywhere just so they can see it in different for thumbnails, and also just to send to other people who wants to use for their thumbnails.
Yeah. That's funny you even talk about the branding aspect. And I am, again, kind of poor at doing this, but I will say, I will say this, but then I'll hopefully redeem myself a little bit. But it is amazing how few people actually do similar to what you're doing, meaning that you wear your brand and not be kind of bashful about putting your brand out there and your logo, right?
Proud.
I think about, and this is nothing against, because I have been horrible at it myself, but think about how many SEO conferences you have gone to and how few people wear or sport or promote their brand at any of these conferences. There's only one other person, it's Terry Samuels, who's always wearing Salterra logoed wear. He's always got something, a hat, a shirt, t-shirt, jacket. But I think he's one of the only few guys I've ever seen, like aside from you, that are like sporting their brand. And I think it's really critical. And I will say I redeemed myself is that when I went to Vegas just a couple of weeks ago at the Traffic and Conversions, I actually wore, my 38 Digital Market press release t-shirt that we have. And now I'm like kicking myself, like I got to start just doing this every week on my show, because I don't know why I don't.
Yeah. And the shows that you go on to as well, right? Just keep on, just keep on wearing it. Have different colors. I have black, I have blue, I have, I have gray, like gray.
I had a guy on our podcast a year or two ago that we actually had this conversation, and he was like emphatic. It was like, I never walk out of my house. I'm never online. I'm never on camera without my brand being visible. And he was, really emphatic. He's like, because you never know where that's going to be seen, if it's a video, a piece of content, an image. He goes, or if I'm out on the street and I'm wearing my brand and they're like, hey, what is, he goes, you would be surprised at how many conversations I've started up because people ask me about what is that? And he had a brand that was somewhat unusual a little bit as well. I'm like, and it's like, people talk to me about it and I've created business because of it. I'm like, man, it was a good lesson when you're talking to people about building brand. Like, don't be bashful to wear your brand.
Don't be bashful at all. Like, rock everything.
Well, and plus,
one of the things I tell people too, like if you want to like even get something quickly made, just go to teespring.com is where I go. You can order some, you can just like go there and like set up your logos. I mean, it's not hard to get like your own gear. It's like people use Teespring to set up stores, but you can order like samples, and that's all I do. So I order samples and just like of different colors that I want that I wear myself. So and it's not that expensive, guys. So it's probably how much you'll spend for a hoodie or a t-shirt yourself. So check that out.
I love it. Do you always wear the hoodie? I was just thinking in my mind, like, what should I wear? I've got like black t-shirts with my logo, 38 Digital Market press releases. But do you always wear that hoodie and with that?
I have different colors. I mean, I wear black when I'm a guest on other podcasts, and I wear the blue one always on when I'm live on my show. So I kind of like.
Man, you are so dialed in, even with color. I'm like, man, I need you to manage my brand, I think. All right, so here we are, folks. If you have any questions here for Paul, throw them up there in the chat, and we'll get to them. So here we are, content creation, age of AI, right? Generative AI in creating all content. I'm curious, and I've been asking my guests this, where do you see that going? How do you see, I guess, what you do specifically with this great show you do? How do you see AI kind of influencing that? Or even, are you embedding AI to some degree into that and helping you? So I'm curious on that. And then I also want to kind of lead into, what do you see in 2024 as kind of trends and hot trends, and especially in this kind of world of content creation?
Yeah, of course. So when it comes to AI, I use it in different ways. And that's part of my production wise. I use Chat GPT and Claude to actually, before I talked about like how I would watch videos for like a whole hour and kind of pull these nuggets and stuff like that to do some research. I would actually do this for the actual guests as well before. Now, what I do is I find all the videos of my guests, pull the transcript, and then get these different transcripts, upload it to Claude, and say, "Hey, this is my guest. I'm coming in today. Like, please list out their strengths, and that I can ask questions upon." And so that's like, now I get my list of questions so they can talk about their strengths. So that saves hours of work because when I was doing like just guest research, I was spending hours like kind of finding what they should talk about on the show. Now I simply download the transcript, find maybe 4 or 5 videos they put online, or even blogs they posted, then kind of weed it into Claude and say, "Hey, this is my guest for this week. I want to ask like some engaging questions that have action items that are tactical for my audience to implement like right away." So some sort like that. And then boom, I have my questions ready and I'm off to go. So that saves like, I can do that within like 30 minutes, right?
Oh my gosh. It saves a ton of time.
Compared to hours. The next part I'm using AI is in the repurposing part. I've now like, I have an SEO, I have a show on YouTube. I don't like calling it a podcast, right? Because it's a show. It's a visual and sound, has sound elements to it. So it's a show. So I've actually, started a podcast by actually repurposing my own contents. So I'd ask, how I do the knowledge bombs and I do these sound effects?
Right.
The AI can actually extract that. So every time I say the knowledge bombs or the hear the effect, extract those action items or those tips and convert it into a 5-minute script, right? So it becomes a 5-minute script, which I now take into 11 Labs, which I clone my voice, and then have that, so now I have these knowledge bomb recaps podcast where it actually spends 5 minutes recapping the whole like last week's podcast in my voice. My mom couldn't even tell. I actually played it for my mom and dad, and they're like, "Yeah, that's you." I was like, "So if I can fool my mom and dad, I'm pretty sure I can fool you guys." So I take this 5-minute script that I was able to pull out, extract all the knowledge bombs from, and now I have 2 assets from the show now. Like I have this SEO video show, and I have the SEO knowledge bomb podcast. Basically, I obviously got the title from because they're the knowledge bombs I extracted from the shows, and now I have like 2 properties. I'm able to put an IMDb and be like a legit media company when it's like I have a podcast, I have a show, I have my own like producer profile on IMDb. So it's like you become official.
Yeah. So what do you think content creation, and I'm curious specifically even about video. What is your insight or thoughts about where that's going over this next year?
Yeah, I feel like in 2024, I'm a contributor in the SEO in 2024 book by Majestic, and I talk about video and how about content creation, how I feel like video is the way to go, especially going forward. I mean, I see this every year, and it's just getting more and more important, right? I mean, even having like this creating this content right here, you're able to get indexed in Google and YouTube and other places, and repurpose that content and have it able to really distribute into other platforms. When it comes to video, one of the things I've found too is like optimizing for Google video, the SERPs is totally different than YouTube SERPs. So when you let's say like when you're doing something for Google, I've had some really great results on like really converting ranking blogs. Let's say some of your blogs that are on page 1 and just converting those into videos, like word for word. You'll get those videos ranking on page 1 of Google as well. So it's one of those things where if I've had 100% success on doing that. So if you have a blog that's ranking or an article ranking on page 1 of Google, convert it to a video, whether it's a person me spot talking. I guess I haven't tried it with AI, but I'm actually the one reading the blog and turning it into an actual really engaging video. But I mean, there's AI now, so you guys can try that out and see if that works. But being able to use, I feel like every SEO in some sort of way will become a content creator, right? We're producing content, whether it's companies are hiring content creators themselves. Brands are actually hiring me to do some of their videos now, right? So it's one of those things where it's like they know the value of having especially if you're going to start a show, building your own brand, your own personal brand, you can become an brand ambassador for other companies. So I feel like this whole it is influencer marketing. As I feel like the whole SEO, content creation, influencer marketing is all kind of meshed together. It's especially with the concept of the rise of AI. It's like you don't know if anything is like actually authentic anymore. So it's like if you have a person in front of you, you can really have knock down that EEAT signals, right? I mean, we're here talking unless we have 2 AIs set up with the scripts going, doing all these things, which I think could possibly happen, but it's going to be really hard, and the conversation wouldn't have the tonality of and how we talk to each other, how we laugh at each other's jokes. Can you imagine AI laughing at each other's jokes? They're like, ha, ha, ha. They can't get the other jokes. They won't be able to get that real laughter in there, but
there we go. Well, and especially, I think there were some incredible stats that have come out just in the regard of the accelerated popularity of the shorts videos in like Instagram and TikTok, and how they are attracting users, consuming content on those short platforms, and then using those platforms as well as a search vehicle. The generation or 2 below me, that 40% of these folks are using TikTok as their search engine versus typical Google, and that is only continuing to increase kind of every month. That increases. And so this creating video content, I think, is going to continue to really drive importance. And whether you're in building a brand, building authority, and your digital footprint as a brand in the world, and whatever it is, if you're selling or whatever that process is, but and as well in the world of SEO, I think it's I think you cannot really be successful unless you are building this video content.
Yep. I mean, TikTok and the shorts, especially like the those carousels are showing up on Google as well. So you want to post those shorts, like it's that's the one way. That's if for SEOs, like, hey, TikTok carousels are on there, so be able to push those in. And which is funny too when you mentioned TikTok, because my nephew told me, why don't you put your YouTube shorts onto TikTok? I was like, all right. And I did. They get much more engagement over there than they do on YouTube shorts. I was like, oh,
crazy, right?
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that too, because the YouTube shorts are going to be coming out like within this week. I actually all of last week I started putting more editing time into my shorts. I'm actually before I would just cut out clips and then put captions. Right. I'm actually editing it in a much more engaging way, where like the first 5 seconds as a quick animation talking about what I'm going to talk about, very eye catchy. And I'm actually, and then because when you hover, you can see what the video will be about.
Right.
And then I'm actually doing the whole engagement edits. I'm doing like a quick edits, 5 maybe like pop-ups here and there, me swishing around. But I'm actually going to put more. I've made the effort to put more editing time into my shorts just because of that. Like, it's much funny you mentioned that. I just started last week. I really started like putting more editing effort to make it more like sharp to the point, eye catchy.
And you're doing it with vertical, right? Not
vertical.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm editing it. The choice, one tool that I've started using, which is really easy to use. I wish I started using this a lot even earlier. But guys, CapCut is an easy video editor where you can add some really nice effects, and I think it's perfect for shorts. CapCut is actually created by TikTok, so like it's made to create shorts. It's a free program. You can add overlays, you can add text effects, you can add these like nice like really cool animations and like whips and all that cool stuff that you always see on all these other shorts editing. And it's really easy to do. It's very linear. So you just like, okay, cut here, add animation here, add words here, and it does auto captioning. If you think about like auto captioning, some companies charge money for companies.
That's CapCut.
Yeah, CapCut. CAPCUT. Other companies charge for those captioning that you see on shorts and stuff like that. They do it for free on there, and it's really, really cool.
Is that through TikTok, or where do you pull that up from?
Yeah, go to CapCut.com, or you can search it. So it's like they have a desktop version. So they have a mobile version and desktop version. I use a desktop version because I to get it. But CapCut. CAPCUT.
Yeah, here over at Joe says, it's free and always a bonus. It's free. Yeah, that's good. So crazy, I think. Yeah, the video content. Well, I have to tell you, Paul, you've kicked me in the butt to like step up my game and so much, which is great. And you've definitely have, I think, really laid out some great insight on how to drive, I think, both a brand and as well how to drive a good, and I agree with you, it's a show, not a podcast that you do on YouTube, and it's good stuff. So folks, if you have not checked his show out, go do, because it is really a great show. Who do you have coming up this week?
I have Giselle Goez. She is the director of organic content at Chime. If you guys are familiar with the app Chime, it's a financial app, a really popular app. They sponsor, I believe, the Dallas Mavericks. But it's I'm back to bringing in some. The tough thing about getting enterprise SEOs into my show is that they have to go through approvals. They can't just say, hey, yes, I could be on your show. They have to go through their PR because they can't mention anything like certain numbers. And so I have to be careful what I ask for. I can't say Chime. I can introduce her as the director of organic content at Chime, but I can't ask like, oh, so how does Chime do this? How do you do? Right. To be more general. It's like, if this was you, how would you do it? I mean, she could have done it for Chime, or she could have done it for another company, but no one will know. But so I have to be a little work around the questions there. But I have a bunch. I recently did a run of SEO spring training speakers, like just because they were actually partners. I'm actually a media partner. I'll be out there, shooting the events, doing interviews, just like I did a Digital Unfiltered, something similar to that for Terry. And so in order to promote the event, I brought in some speakers in and kind of like, nice. Have them interviewed and, stuff like that. So
yeah. Well, I will be at SEO Spring Training as well. And actually nice. We are sponsoring. We're one of the sponsors as well for SEO Spring Training. So similarly, I try to bring on some folks that are going to participate in at the conference, which is good. And I would tell you as well, Joe Marichuk, you should go check him out. He's great. I had him on the show last week. If you want to talk about tools and SEO, he's a creative guy like you. He is his background is art and creative arts. So
so Joe, if you're listening, I'll reach out to you on LinkedIn. I'll add you on there. So be on the lookout for Paul Andre de Vera.
I always like connecting people, pitching people. It's always fun. Well, listen, Paul, thank you so much, man, for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I'll try to hopefully, tune into my show in a month. Maybe I'll have it stepped up a little bit. Not quite, probably not quite on Paul's level, but we'll try to step it up though. I think it'll be good.
Love it.
But thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. You're always so fun to talk with. And man, keep knocking it out. Keep blasting away.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. I mean, again, if you guys want to check me out, I go live every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And, I bring on great guests. I kind of recap the week. And it's one of those things where we engage. I give away free giveaways. I'll give away a book for, like if you come on, just shoot me an email, like SEO in 2024. If you want this book, just come on a live stream and say that you want the book and you'll get it. I mean, there's just a lot of fun things I do on this show. And for me to give back to the community, like as well, right? Because SEO has done me well, and I just like giving things and knowledge and whatever I can back.
Love it. All right, and I'll see you in Scottsdale in April, man. That'll be good. All right, folks. Appreciate everybody jumping on. Again, like, follow, subscribe. Join us next week. I've got a great guest. I don't even know who the heck I've got. Let me pull it up real quick. How horrible is that? That is the worst. I don't even know. See, this is what I'm like. I'm nowhere on my game where I should be. Good Lord. I think you had this guy on your show not too long ago, Michael Rayburn.
Oh yeah. He was just on a few weeks ago.
So I got Michael coming up next week, so it'll be fun. So you can jump on and say hi to him. Even though it's early for you, I know.
No, I'm up early. It's like there's times like when you pop up, because you'll pop up on my feed, like, oh, you're live. So like go there. Like I came on the one time when you were with Holly. Again, whenever I'm on the computer at that time, it's like I definitely hop on.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. All right. Take care. We'll see you in April. And